All right, so we watched Blackwater Lane, so you don't have to. Typically what happens here is, I'll do these solo reviews these days for these lame movies that I watch. And typically when you see me by myself, that's not a good sign. Not every time, but most times. And here and there, what happens is I'll pop something on for a few minutes, and I'll show it to Kayla, and she'll give the yay or nay on it, and then I'll give myself the yay or nay on it. And sometimes she says nay, and I say, I'll try it. And this one, we watched the first 10 minutes of last night, 15 minutes of, and we were both kind of like, okay, that seemed all right.
Yeah.
Let's stick with it. Oh, boy. That was a mistake. So This stars Minka Kelly, who I know from The Roommate, Dermot Mulroney, who I know from everything, and Maggie Grace from Taken and Lost and a bunch of other things. Oh, Jesus Christ. This movie is about a woman who she witnesses, not a murder, but she drives past somebody, and they end up being dead after the fact. And, the cops are kind of looking into it. She thinks she's losing her mind. And, of course, no one around her believes her. One of those kinds of movies. Oh, man. What'd you think, Kayla?
I thought it was awful. Which is a shame because, like you said, it started out, the first 10 minutes were all right, this could be okay. Yeah. But it's so convoluted. It doesn't make any sense. I do not like what they go for with the twist. I feel like it's very predictable, but in a very lame way. I feel like there are some pretty glaring inconsistencies in the plot.
Oh yeah.
That make it, especially for whenever a movie tries to go the route of a murder mystery.
Yeah.
You need to have everything thought out and fine-tuned, because the viewers are going to be putting themselves in the shoes of the detective. And that's what's exciting about those types of movies, is that you're there trying to figure out, what happened along with the main character or whatever.
Yeah.
And whenever it is sloppy like this one is, it just makes it very underwhelming and kind of feels like a waste of time.
It's beyond that.
Yeah.
This movie's horrendous. This feels like a Lifetime movie that's better shot. And that's about the only difference, is this looks better than a Lifetime movie, but outside of that, the script might as well be a Lifetime movie. I thought every aspect of how this played out was just ridiculous and absolutely awful. I called pretty much every single thing very early and was like, here's the killer or killers, here's their motive, here's their reasoning. And then later on, I was like, no, this isn't what it is. This is what's happening because of this, this, and this. And 100% of those things were correct. I was dead on about all of them. But the movie does such a bad job at selling that.
Yeah.
And over explaining things. It almost becomes like a Scooby-Doo ending.
Yes, very much.
And it is necessary because of how convoluted it is, but because I guessed 100% of those things, I didn't need it. Yeah. I was just, because I've just seen so many movies like this.
I feel like it's fairly predictable anyway. I don't feel like it's a matter of
Yeah, but I guessed it early
You did,
on.
but I think that most people watching can see where it's coming from a mile away.
Sure.
I think you can tell. And, as much of, even though
She's
it's
not wanting to give me any credit.
No, I mean, I agree though. You did say very early, that I will say.
And she was like, no.
Because I thought it was so dumb.
Yes, I told you. I knew the way this movie was
way.
playing out. I was like, 100%. This movie's that dumb.
Yeah. The ending is really awful. The last act is just it feels so sloppy. Like, that's just the best word, I think, to describe it for me. And even though, like, yeah, they do kind of need to spell it out for you because of maybe how convoluted some parts of it are, it feels very not condescending, like patronizing maybe, or I don't know.
Like the final words.
Oh, that for sure, but also just like the explanations that characters give is just like, okay, we knew that, like, you didn't need to monologue it, but
it doesn't match the characters' motives don't match the characters' decisions.
No.
In the end.
Yeah.
And there's just so many glaring moments of, I'm going to go with plot holes, just straight up plot holes, because, there's something with text messaging where I was telling you, like, there's no reason that anyone would not text this because of this reason. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, no, there literally is no reason to text those things. That makes no sense.
There's also interactions with like doctors or like security system agencies that I feel like it doesn't make sense why there's not more, like, those are very easy things to follow up on and to like confirm, like, especially when you're questioning something. I'm just
gonna say this right now. We're gonna talk spoilers just so you can say what you want to say. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to watch it, turn it off. Go ahead.
So, what I was trying to say with that is, so the main character's husband and her best friend are having an affair together, and they're trying to frame the main character, or they're trying to make her think that she has early onset dementia. So, like, for example, she has a letter that her husband opens up and leaves on the counter for her. That's from her doctor saying, I want you to come in and get tested for early onset dementia because you have all these symptoms. She could have called the doctor, and she likely would have called the doctor, I feel. Especially, maybe not right at that moment, but because shortly after, I mean, she's questioning everything for a good majority of the film. Like, she feels like her husband isn't on her side. She doesn't understand why the security alarm system company is saying that she signed this contract. Like, there's stuff that I feel like, even if you were like, oh, my mom has dementia, like, I could totally have dementia, that's a huge fear of mine, that would be, like, all the more reason to be reaching out earlier to those, like, places, right? Yeah. So, I just thought that was all very, like, convenient that she doesn't follow up with the doctor ever, but, like, the security system, it's, like, later on, when she's kind of, like, it feels very convenient whenever it's sort of revealed.
The ending stuff, it's one of the most convoluted and genuinely stupid endings I've watched in a while, where there's just so much going on. And this whole, like, I'm gonna fake my death, which was one of the things I called when she started to kill herself, and you were like, is she really killing herself? I'm like, no. If you remember, she installed the security system. They're going to be watching on the fucking camera. Yeah. And she called this kid, and she's staging the whole thing.
It all seemed
and blah, blah, blah. And you were like, no, there's no way. And I'm
because
like,
that is so
I'm telling you.
Ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. I agree.
And the police officers, like, going along with that is so ridiculous.
Well, and the fact that, like, the other dude comes in. Yeah. When the cops are there. Yeah. It's like, why would this other dude be there when the cops are outside? Right. And why didn't they come in way before this? How did they let her chase her through the freaking backyard and all of this stuff? Yeah. When the cops are literally sitting out front watching them pull up. Wouldn't they follow them in? And wouldn't they be, like, within, like, a freaking fraction of a foot? She had her, like, not tied up, who knows? But she had, like, a gun on her. She put a gun to her head. How many times were the cops going to let this chick get killed? How many times were they going to let that guy who get hit in the head with a hammer before anyone does anything about it? They're going to let a kid sit around the premises when there's murderers around. Like,
it would make more sense for that to work in any way. The police would not be involved. It would be her doing it all on her own,
100%.
trying to set up, and then maybe the police come in at the very end because of some other reason. Like, that's the only way it works. But the fact that they're like in on it is insane.
But then they try to like convince her after that no, you really are. And for a second I thought they were going to try to pull this, like, you know, the rug out from under us.
I would have hated that too, though. Like,
oh, she really is crazy.
I would have hated that as well.
But they like dropped that as soon as they introduced it.
Oh my gosh, so quick. He was like, no, we got to stop gaslighting her. Like, we need to let her go. And I did not understand the end when they're showing like how they made her think she was going crazy, and it's like her husband has like a projector. I'm like, okay, but then it's like when she's in the bathtub and her friend wearing no mask, nothing to conceal her face, is just like holding her under with one hand, with one arm.
Yeah. And
she doesn't see her face.
No, or her arm.
That's all
they
just
act
so crazy.
Like they could have went. God, I hate it. I hate it all so much because it's like, don't they ever consult anybody? Ever? Like, does this make any sense? Don't they ever do that?
This is just
because I could be on set and I would just be like, okay, if you want to pull that off, make it a bubble bath so she can't see up through the water.
Or she's like in like a candlelit room or something because it's dark.
You would still see an arm.
You would,
but if it's in a bubble bath and it's in a dark room, then maybe you wouldn't see much, right? But like, to make it literally like, because we see the scene before that. When we see her head under the water, there is no hand there. She is clearly not. So we're seeing it through her head, but nothing else in the movie is through her head. And also, what the fuck is up with this fox? They're just killing animals to try and like freak her out, basically. Is the thing. He's following her around the whole movie. Like, he sees her outside the thing. And then, okay, I gotta mention this too, because this is the dumbest shit ever. So she plants evidence at the murder scene, and the person who finds it is the wife? Are we talking about the most incompetent police officers of all time? You can't find an earring in the vicinity of a murder crime scene? Why did she find it?
She went later.
She did.
But
this
much
makes no
later.
sense.
Like after the police were already there.
So you
like,
could just say, we sweeped the area. There was nothing. Oh yeah, I went there to, you know, pay my respects, and I probably lost the earring then. So even if she did plan it later, did she plan it for her to find it?
I don't know.
And then she never noticed like her phone was missing. I don't fucking know, man. There's so many plot holes and dumb things going on in this movie.
It just is this feels like something that nobody cared about, really. Like, writer, director, like, it just feels like that, you know, it was just, there's no passion in it. There's no, like, you know, you're saying, did they not consult anybody? But it's like, they just need to care more. And, you know, with her going, like, being framed or being set up to think that she's going, you know, getting dementia. I also, like, I thought she was being drugged, for example, but she's not. But she hears, like, a baby. Like, there's a few scenes that I'm like, I don't know. Is that supposed to be her stress? Or, like, for example, there's a television where she sees, like, an old woman on it. Is that something that they planted as well? I mean, we don't see the flashback of them doing that, but, you know, the baby that she hears crying, that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't understand if that's... I guess it's all supposed to be them.
It's all supposed to be part of their plan, I guess.
How they did that, I don't really know, unless there's like a tape recorder or something in there, but...
Why not just let her die from the overdose? Which... Did she
that
overdose?
That scene, too, was really
That's
really
a very
bizarre.
Weird, jarring scene.
That's a very out-of-place scene.
She wakes up in the hospital, and then she wakes up at home, and it's like
they don't even
later,
talk about it.
And she's like, legit, she just kind of wakes up and it's like, oh, I must have fallen asleep or something. It's like, what?
The only thing that is talked about with that is when the detective comes and is like, you were in the hospital. That's the only time. But like her and her husband don't have anything.
It's one of the weirdest cuts I've ever seen.
There's a few things like that in here too, where the editing and the way things are cut are very jarring, like a fade to black, but at a really weird time, and then it's just like they didn't have a connecting shot or something. Like it makes it feel very disjointed, but not in like a stylistic way or anything, just in kind of, again, a sort of like sloppy, like slapstick or slap together kind of way. It was a bad movie. It was really bad. The acting is whatever, is fine, I guess, but it's just the writing and the directing and the cinematography and the editing, like all of the rest of it is really, really poor, unfortunately.
Yeah, as far as the text messaging plot hole I was talking about earlier, when they are having the affair, which is, what leads to the death of that woman, I was like, oh, she must just see her, right? Yeah. So she sees her, and then we get the like voiceover of what the text says, and it's like, I think someone saw us. But he also sees her.
Not only does he also both look at her, but he goes to lunch. Like his wife and that lady are having lunch together, and he's invited to him. When he sees who it is, he's like, oh no, it's that woman that saw us.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely saw her.
Well, I know, but, like, the text makes no sense
yes,
at all.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, why would you text that?
You wouldn't. Because of, like, a trace, like, history. But also, he turns around. Like, if it was like, oh, he didn't, like, clearly see her, it should have been something like, I know who saw us,
They're
right?
both
like,
in the same exact
that would have
place.
Been a different text.
They're looking from the same distance.
100%.
And they both
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. Like, if she is going to text,
there is no devil's advocate.
It should have been what I said. Like, I know who did it. Like, not, I think someone saw us. Like, of course somebody saw you. I saw them saw us.
Yeah, we saw you see them. So, yes.
So
there's so many things like that. And we could go on and on, but I'm done. I just... I mean, what an absolutely abysmal film. And crazy, believe it or not, this is actually based on a book.
Oh, wow.
So this supposedly has a full novel.
Wow.
And must have been thought out, because books typically don't get away with that shit for the most part, because they have the time to expand
leads
on
me
everything.
to think this is just a very poor adaptation.
Very poor adaptation, or a really shitty book.
It could be that too. It definitely could be that too.
Condensed.
Usually books have a little bit more time to
flesh it out.
Weave the mystery.
Well, thank God this was an hour and almost 50 minutes.
Oh, I know. This was a longer movie. I kept thinking, like, when is this going to be over? Because I wasn't enjoying it.
It's PG-13. So, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Don't watch it.
Terrible. No, yeah. If you're
you're here, sure. So you already got all the spoilers, but it's
God.
not.
No, please don't. Anyway, all right, guys. Blackwater Lane. Jesus Christ. Yeah, anyway. All right.